We made it to Friday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight with a deadly plot targeting President of the United States. A new report revealing Israel apparently warned U.S. officials about an Iranian plan to assassinate President Trump, exposing just how serious and persistent the threats are against him. We're going to have much more on this in just a second. Plus, it's official. Days after mounting pressure, Graham Platner has officially withdrawn from the Maine Senate race, putting out a statement saying, "I write to formally withdraw my candidacy from the United States Senate race," but then he ended it with "F ICE, free Palestine, and up the haters. You, sir, will not be missed." But speaking of missing, newly released video apparently shows longtime Senator Mitch McConnell being loaded into an ambulance after suffering an apparent cardiac arrest, and Americans kind of want answers on what his status is. And citizenship for sale. President Trump saying an alleged Texas Anchor Baby hospital sign proves that birthright citizenship is being exploited, and now he's taking the fight back to the Supreme Court. He's asking for an immediate rehearing, which is not impossible, but it is rare. Rumors are, though, that Amy Coney Barrett regrets her initial decision. But first, liberals ruin everything, and I'm going to prove it to you. Let's do this. All right. This is why we're constantly in this influx of hatred and freak out and panic and grievances in this nation. Today, the DOJ indicted 8 people over the alleged plot to attack the White House of the UFC 250 event.
The indictment charges all 8 men with 2 conspiracy counts. The first count is a conspiracy to provide material support to terrorists by way of money, firearms, ammunition, body armor, explosives, drones, medical and communications equipment, as well as personnel, with the knowledge and intent that those resources were to be used in preparation for and to carry out the murder of federal officers and employees in the course of an attack on a federal facility.
So all these goons had code names, too, playing too much Call of Duty. Names like Shepard and Fulcrum, Pepsi, Prox, and here's another one you can read yourself: Noble, Viper of the SOG, and Whiskey 6. Okay. All right, look, we can laugh about this now because we caught them and it's safe, but this is it. This is the people trying to assassinate the president and a ton of other folks. These weren't Islamic terrorists either. These were homegrown Americans that became radicalized left. I mean, there was one guy who was actually an illegal because he overstayed his DACA visa. The Dems always said the DACA people were just poor little kids trying to be American, but not in this guy. They wanted to destroy something that was celebrating our country simply because Donald Trump was a part of it. This is so crazy to me. We have to have this conversation on the same day. Apparently another plot to kill the president from Iran was foiled. Trump was actually joking about it on Air Force One.
I have a threat all the time. I'm #1 on their list before you. But if I go, you go.
God, that guy was pooping his pants when he said that. It kind of lends to the point. If you find yourself, just like these 8 guys, with the same goals as Iran, a country we're literally bombing the hell out of right now, you got problems, bro. This is the left, though. They have normalized this hatred of Trump and, quite frankly, anyone who supports him as if it's acceptable to somehow try to kill him and his supporters. But I think it goes to the larger point that the bulk, and I mean the overwhelming majority of 99.9% of Republicans or conservatives, support this country and don't do stuff like this. It's the left that is constantly trying to tear things down. I mean, pick a cause that is widely supported on the left. You got BLM.
What you are seeing, the common theme that ties all of this together, is an expression of anger and frustration over what people feel like has become an all too familiar story playing out in places from across the country, not just here in Kenosha.
First of all, it's heartwarming to see so many people turn out peacefully.
Who, in one of the most noble traditions of our nation, are protesting, are petitioning their government, or peacefully gathering. I want to tell you right now that that is not enough.
They burn things down. And they accomplish nothing other than some bizarre justification for people to act like delinquents. Another one, Antifa, no kings, and the anti-ICE.
Do you disavow the violence from Antifa that's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth.
that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
I am so proud, and my heart is so full to see the literally millions of protesters all around the country who are, it's even hard to call them protesters. These are patriots.
How incredibly proud I am of the way that you've risen to meet this unbearable moment.
We played you the soundbite yesterday of the Democrat Socialists of America that are now weighing on the next Democrat presidential candidate. They only want the financial system, the only one in the world to ever succeed, to have just apps. They want it to completely collapse. Watch this guy.
We're not here to make the Democrats a little bit better. We're not here to get the little crumbs. We're here to actually enact socialism. And socialism is not just better capitalism. It's overthrowing the entire capitalist state. The more time I spend discussing this, the more I realize the Democrats, they don't actually build anything. They don't create things. They don't have any ideas. They just simply oppose things. That's literally their entire movement. Look at what happened on the 4th of July. Here, we got 8 Army helicopters decided to do this awesome flyover.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I mean, you can't beat it, especially for America's 250th birthday. Those beaches are going to be packed. And we're hoping, pending a few different variables, we're going to try and stay safe, but we're hoping to really give them a show and try and get as low as feasibly possible.
Yeah, look, a couple 27, 28-year-old Apache pilots decided that they were just going to fly over a beach, over the water, to do some America stuff. And 99% of the people on the beach were like, yeah, this is awesome. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. But then you got some anonymous fat lib who couldn't even put their name on the complaint, complained about it to the Army, and then all 8 of these pilots get suspended for it. Thankfully, Pete Hegseth got wind of this and reversed everything this morning. Then Sean Parnell, the Assistant Secretary of Defense, tweeted out, effective immediately, the suspension of all South Carolina pilots has been lifted. Carry on, Patriots. But look at the response from liberals who thought the suspension was somehow the right move. One of my favorite beta males on the internet, Brian Krasenstein, tweeted out, for the MAGA folks who are pissed off at the pilot suspension, here are the reasons why. And then he proceeds to list a bunch of safety concerns. Powerful rotor wash can blast sand, shells, and debris into people. Except they're over the water, and there isn't even rotor wash on the water. That's because they're too high for that. But then there's also a ton of people cheering, though. He went on, beach umbrellas, towels, and other loose items can become dangerous projectiles. Yeah, I don't see any of that happening either, dude. Extremely loud noise can cause discomfort or hearing. Oh, Brian, were your widow ears hurt? Blowing sand can reduce pilots' visibility. Again, they're over the water. Stop making stuff up. But you also do realize that pretty much all of our airmen's training has been based on a desert profile from Iraq and Afghanistan. What do they have a lot of over there? Sand. We're trained to fly in that kind of stuff. Honestly, does he even hear himself? Low altitude crowds overcrowds leaves little margin for emergency. Dude, stop. Tell me you don't know anything about what you're talking about without actually saying it. I have been in helos, flying in drainage ditches, doing 90 miles an hour with 2 to 3 feet on either side of the rotor blades at night, just for fun. I think these combat pilots are pretty capable enough to fly 20 feet off the water, 40 miles an hour on a bright, clear, sunny day with no one shooting at them. I mean, he was reaching for the bottom on this one, too. People can be startled, panicked, or lose their footing. Military safety procedures. No, they don't discourage this. Just shut up and go away. This is the product. Brian Krasenstein is the product of participation trophies. Here is a list of reasons that pilots should actually do that. 1, it's the 4th of July. 2, it's cool. And 3, America. This is why people hate liberals. They ruin everything. A UFC fight at the White House to a simple flyover on the beach on the 4th of July. Just go away. No one wants you here, and if it's so bad and you hate it so much, just leave. I hear Iran is great this time of year. Retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Hey, General, this seems fine with me.
So there's rules, and there's flight rules about where, when, how, and why. But now we get into, well, what is the discipline for such a thing? Isn't it okay and isn't it discipline to just pull your aircrew members in and go, gentlemen, not good, and then send them on their way?
Maybe a little old-fashioned hazing or something, whatever.
Not even necessary. Oftentimes, if I understood the intent was pure, they weren't out to prove that they could bust the rules. They weren't about to destroy government aircraft, life or limb. Then, and you don't want to destroy their warrior spirit. And I think that's what you're getting at, Carl. You don't want to break warrior spirit. You don't want to break it in your unit. So it's okay to go, you knuckleheads messed up today. So come on in, let's have a talk about it. I went through this with a C-17 crew that had a 3-star rip their face off at an air show. Then I brought them in their blues and said, is wearing your blues fun? And they said, no, sir. I said, okay, be on your way.
Yeah, but Tony, this is the problem. You have our upper ranks under Biden and Obama. They were filled with people like this, like whoever this general was or whatever, whoever suspended those guys, that guy should be the one facing the music here.
Absolutely. Look, I love Blaine, but Blaine and I are not in total sync on this. I would have probably commanded that mission, even if I wasn't an aviator, just to go do that and suffer the con. No, I'm serious. And you three know me. You both know me very well.
Yeah.
And I think Secretary Hegstead correctly jumped in and said, this is nonsense. And God bless Pete, our friend Pete. He's saying, look, we have to push the envelope. And as much as, again, I love Blaine, I have pushed the envelope on every regulation I can think of every time I get a chance. And so if this requires that these guys get a letter of reprimand from someone saying, gee, you were really entertaining and used your weapons effectively to show the public how great you are, then I would take that reprimand in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
yes, we'll fix this, carry on.
I skydived to all kinds of like public events and stuff like that, and we were using parachutes that were like half the size we were supposed just to go
I've
faster.
I've been on those missions, Carl.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And like when they get down, they'll be like, "Did you fly a 170, Carl? And you weigh 250?" I'm like, "Yes, I did. Whatever. I'm fine." But this is what liberals lose their mind. They did this, General, over Kid Rock when a helicopter, awesomely enough, flew right outside of his Tennessee version of the White House, and he's over there saluting him. He's having a good time, and it got a bazillion hits on the internet, and America was like, yeah, let's go, brother, and someone lost their mind, and that pilot got in trouble.
No, this is what command pay is all about. You've got to be the person with the judgment. You've got to be able to take your crews and your people away from the politics and the politicization and the media. Keep good order and discipline. And that's why I'm saying it is discipline to go, hey, come on. Let's chat this through. I understand where you were going with this one, and not destroy their warrior spirit and ethos. Because what does happen in combat is when it's time to step on the gas, you don't want your young ones confused about, well, are you going to have a conniption fit on this one?
Well, Tony, that's the other thing, too. To Blaine's point, which is exactly on. Like, we would go overseas, and we would do the craziest stuff. Like, every other unit was like, no, dude, that's crazy. You're definitely going to die doing that. We're like, we'll give it a shot. And we would go out and get these bad guys, and, like, that's the kind of thing I want. I want people who push the envelope, maybe a little bit crazy, but that's okay.
Well, you have to have generals, I'll say a very big compliment here, like Blaine, who understand how to actually maximize maintaining regulatory control and still getting the freaking job done. And I mean, that's what you got to do. And you know, in our field, my field, you train as you conduct combat operations. There's no difference. So in peacetime, Carl, in your field and my field, there's no difference. You train like you fight. Yeah. And so you have to have that warrior spirit, and people like Blaine who can say, yeah, that probably wasn't the best move, but it's okay. I'm going to dock you 3 MREs for the week. You have to go.
Don't take my calories, Tony.
But you're back in the fight.
Yeah, exactly. But that's
we're the Air Force. We eat better than that. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But like, nothing got broken. Nobody died. Carry on.
Exactly. Move on.
Anyway,
dirt in it.
General Holt, Tony Shaffer, we appreciate both of you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, there's one thing veterans understand. It's probably masculinity. Somewhere along the way, a lot of Americans got soft. The guys and I are going to be discussing why being tough, disciplined, and dependable is not toxic. It's needed. We got final part of Voices for Valor coming up today in a little bit. But first, a child rapist facing deportation gets a pardon from Tim Walz, and Marco Rubio's like, check Raj, I'm going to take care of this myself. And the administration's move was awesome to get that convicted offender out of the United States. Next.
Whoa. I need a medic. No warning, no time. When suspects turn violent, officers have seconds to survive. Watch the Caught on Body Cam series for the drama, the actual footage.
Suspect down! Suspect down!
The real life, all on Newsmax Plus. Start your free trial today at newsmaxplus.com.
At Ancestry, we believe every question about the past is a spark. And when curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. How is your family woven into 250 years of U.S. history? Find out now at Ancestry.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
It was supposed to be the perfect gateway. Instead, it became an open door for cyber criminals. But that threat stops right here. Built by Americans for America. Citizenship defends our homes, our businesses, and our government. Don't let them compromise your identity. Get our all-in-one solution today. Visit PCMatic.com.
Just weeks ago, a convicted sex offender and a foreign national was shielded from deportation by the governor of Minnesota. Well, this week, I revoked his legal status in the United States, and as a result, federal agents took him into custody, and as of today, he has been removed. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country.
Bon voyage, guy. The Trump administration making it clear, if you rape people, we're going to revoke your ability to be here. Secretary of State Marco Rubio just completely revoked the legal status of this illegal, he is an illegal alien who was then pardoned by Governor Tim Walz for repeatedly raping a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. And he tried to pay her $10 to stay quiet, too. These are the kind of people that Democrats are literally fighting to protect. Not me, not you, not 10-year-old girls, not Americans, that guy on your screen. One side pardons them, our side deports them. Choose your fighter. Mark Morgan, former Commissioner of Customs and Border Patrol, and Todd Bensman, Senior Fellow for Border and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation. Mark, I couldn't think of a way to get this guy out faster other than throwing him in the back of my car myself.
Yeah, hey, Carl, you just hit on something. Let's look at this. Just from a common sense perspective. This scumbag, let's not call him a man. This scumbag for 2 years brutalized a 10-year-old girl. And Carl, I think we're probably aligned. If you're a father, if you're a man anywhere in this world, what we would really want to see is the scumbag to fry an electric chair. But look, this is where the Democratic Party is. Make no mistake. This is a quintessential example. And look, at the RNC before the last election, I was there. And let's be very, very clear-eyed about this. President Trump is back in the White House in large part because of the immigration issue. I was there on the floor where constituents were chanting and holding up signs, mass deportation now. So you know what the solution is? For President Trump to do what he promised and carry out the mass deportations. We're not doing enough. We need to do more, Carl.
Yeah, we need to do. I mean, like this guy's, if it was my daughter, he would have been taking a dirt nap right now. But Todd, the thing that they say never happens just keeps happening over and over again. So ICE has just confirmed that they've arrested an illegal from Slovakia who allegedly, at this point, registered to vote in a New Jersey election and cast a ballot in the 2022 federal elections. I mean, how many more examples do we need?
I mean, we've been saying this for a long time, but here we go. There are many cases just like this, cases where we catch illegal aliens in one-off situations across the country. California, places where they apply for driver's licenses and then they can automatically click the button to register to vote. Of course they're going to vote if they possibly can. Some of them are involved in vote harvesting scams. This is a real thing. We wish that there was a greater tracking of this sort of thing, but we know it happens, and this is no surprise at all. There are a lot of us have been warning about exactly this thing for a long time. This should be elevated to the American public to show that this does happen.
Yeah, no, it does.
Happen. It's not an urban myth.
Mark, this is a great one, too. And your FBI background, you'll love this one. There's this woman, Shannon Dersharow or whatever. So our friend T.W. Shannon, no relation, obviously, confirmed this woman works for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. She doesn't work for the AG's office as originally come out, but she went on this unhinged rant appearing to threaten ICE. Roll this.
Conservatives really think they're doing something when they say just comply when it comes to ICE and United States citizens. I was born here and I'm gonna make it an ICE agent's problem. I don't have to comply with ICE because I was born here. And every citizen needs to have that mindset. We need to make their lives miserable. And that's exactly what we should be doing.
I'm not sure she understands how the law works, Mark.
Yeah, she doesn't. Look, Carl, I have two sides of this. There's one side of me that wishes you would play something like this every night because I think it just creates more Republicans.
Yeah.
But the other side is it's not surprising. We just had Judge Dugan in Milwaukee that was convicted and really given a slap on the wrist for, as a sitting judge, actually violated the law knowingly and willfully to help an illegal alien violate ICE custody. And so, look, we called it then and we're seeing it now. It's just emboldening other people like this individual that are a part of the official justice system to come out like this and really play their hand and say they're going to violate the law. Yeah. I have an answer for this. Where's the Oklahoma governor? The Oklahoma governor should call a press conference and publicly fire her and explain why she's being fired.
Yeah.
In the story.
I mean, she should have been fired for that haircut, but we should definitely fire her for this. So I got to leave it right there, gentlemen. We appreciate both of you. All right, coming up. One state rep from the Lone Star State has some bright idea about how to get black people to vote for James Talafrico. Cannot believe why didn't we think of this before? Next.
Newsmax.
Shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide. Real news for real people.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Feeling winded and short of breath when you should be enjoying life? Your days are made for more than this. And if you find yourself stopping more and more to catch your breath, you could be experiencing what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency. Don't let shortness of breath ruin your day. Give yourself a boost with Boost Oxygen. A few deep breaths of Boost Oxygen is all you need to help combat the negative effects of what we call temporary oxygen insufficiency, so you can get back to doing the things you love. Boost Oxygen contains pure supplemental oxygen that is safe for daily use and comes in a portable, lightweight canister without a prescription.
Now I live life on my terms. With Boost Oxygen, I am unstoppable.
Get all-natural 5-star respiratory support with Boost Oxygen. Get Boost Oxygen at these fine retailers.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
You thought you were booking a relaxing vacation, but hackers just booked a ticket into your private life. Your passport, your birth date, your identity exposed. PCmatic, cybersecurity built by Americans for America.
This July at Renewal by Andersen.
replace your windows, your patio doors, or your entry door, and we're going to give you an amazing opportunity. You ready? Pay nothing, and I mean zero zilch nada, for 18 months. I'm talking about no deposit, no monthly payments, and no interest until January of 2028. Choosing Renewal by Andersen to replace your windows and doors makes your home worth more. 3 out of 4 real estate agents surveyed agree Andersen products increase a home's value by at least 10%. Do the math. I think you're going to be happy. Let us show you colors, styles, and inspiration for your home. Get started by meeting with one of our design consultants by July 31st. Don't wait. Call 1-800-264-0500.
Here's a new tactic from the self-proclaimed purveyors of the black vote. Pay black people if you want them to vote for you. Take a listen to this bright idea from Texas Democrat State Senator Yolanda Jones.
Tallarico is giving out money to white GOTV organizations and white infrastructure, and Hispanic infrastructure, but he's not giving it to black infrastructure. Tallarico needs to pay for us to get our voters out. Only then does Tallarico have a chance to win. Tallarico and everybody statewide and the Democratic Party has a black problem, whether they acknowledge it or not. And inspiration is not going to get us to the polls.
Things that make you say, She actually said that out loud. Great plan. Just pay black people to vote for Tallarico. Does this lady really think that, like, white and Hispanic infrastructures are getting paid to whatever? Give me a break. Joe Pags, host of the Joe Pags Show. Sir, I wish somebody would pay me to vote.
Although Southern Italian and beautifully olive, I am a white guy in Texas. I have not gotten the check. I don't know, Carl, but I keep checking the mailbox. I thought I was part of white infrastructure. Listen, that person, just look at her. I mean, how is she even in the state legislature at all? I don't know if you heard about Gina Hinojosa. She's running for governor of Texas as a Democrat. She posted a couple of days ago she wants to give every Texan $1,500. Last time I checked, that's electioneering. That's paying for votes. That's illegal. It's like a felony. But they really, really want it. But only if you're not white. If you're not white, you get a check, I guess. Yeah. It's all very strange to me.
But this is aside from reparations too, Joe. So we have to.
Oh yeah, reparations on top of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's owed. So of course. Speaking of elections, Trump just removed all the Democrat members of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, with one Republican actually just resigning, I think, in protest to this whole thing. Now, this is after the Supreme Court came out and was like, hey, yeah, it turns out the executive, the president, has the authority to people who work for the executive branch, even if they're independent. Now, the board claims to be a, quote, independent bipartisan commission whose mission is to help election officials improve the admission of elections and help Americans participate in the voting process. Look, if that isn't a government agency description, I don't want to. I hope everybody resigns and nobody comes back and then they sell the building.
So your first point is the CEO has the opportunity to get rid of people that work in his organization. That's weird. So the chief executive officer can do this. And by the way, this election commission, I'm not sure if they've helped you out recently or anybody watching and listening. I haven't gotten much help here from the election commission. When
I don't even know who they are.
I have no clue, but you've got entire states voting by mail. You've got people saying there's no widespread fraud. There's not enough fraud to change the election. There might be some fraud. No, you can't see our election rolls. Yeah, I think maybe you have a board that would actually do the job that I thought they were supposed to do. So getting rid of them, bye, Felicia. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, didn't know who they were before, still don't know who they are now.
That's right. I think Felicia is who they are.
Exactly. Remember Nick Shirley, this guy goes out there in a hooded sweatshirt, discovered that, the Leering Center in Minnesota. He was allegedly harassing one of the people in there. Well, two of those owners that were allegedly being harassed by, according to the mainstream media, just pled guilty to fraud schemes. One of them.
Stop it.
Yeah, I know. And hold on, her name's going to shock you. Fahima Muhammad. All right, pled guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud the U.S. by collecting $4.5 million for her fake child care center.
I think if you do the translation from English to Somali, I think the word bullying means investigative journalism. So he was doing investigative journalism. They were confused what it was. So it turns out he was such a bully that he uncovered millions of dollars in fraud, probably billions of dollars in fraud. And yet somehow we're the bad guys that we want to uncover it and maybe save taxpayers from paying for the Leering Center. Yeah. I hope more of this. Carl, keep bringing more of these people, facing the music. Enough is enough.
You're right. Well, here's one that's like fraud-ish, but not really, because I kind of applaud her. It's a Long Island nurse made $1.5 million bucks selling fake COVID vaccine cards. She was slapped with a $544,000 fine on top of another $1.2 million fine. Look, give the money back, take it, but she was kind of a hero. Like, the courts agreed with her ultimately, and like, you can't have someone show a vaccine card to get a cheeseburger.
For me, let's do a GoFundMe for this lady, because what she did was she said, freedom and liberty matter. You can't make me show my papers before I can eat a hamburger or a pizza or go see a show in Broadway. What she did was heroic. She stood up to it. She shouldn't have made a profit, I guess. I get it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if she doesn't do this, a lot of people would not have been able to enjoy their freedoms and liberties during that weird time that we went through with those so-called lockdowns. We were protecting ourselves from ourselves by not letting us go out and leave. I applaud what she did. Didn't do it the right way, but I get it.
Right. I would have bought a vaccine card from her had I had known at the time. So just so I could have gotten a cheeseburger in New York. Joe Pags, always a pleasure, my man.
My man, good weekend. Thanks.
All right. Coming up, Democrats think they've figured out why places like Walgreens and CVS lock everything up. And no, it's not because they think there are thieves out there. It's Americans' obsession with mass incarceration of deodorant. Joke.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
I'm Guy Fieri, and I'm asking for your help in supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as it continues to pay off the mortgages for fallen first responders and Gold Star families who have died in the line of duty and left behind young children. Not only that, but they are also building mortgage-free smart homes for catastrophically injured service members and have recently committed to eradicating homelessness amongst our veterans. We ask you to join us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org and donate today.
We can't find a ranch style with a view.
And a mom-in-law suite.
More realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. With their expert new search tool, just search it like you'd say it.
Room for mom.
And Reba. Make it real with Realtor.com.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Free yourself from prying eyes. Ask privately with Duck.ai. Visit Duck.ai to chat privately with ChatGPT, Claude, and other AIs for free, all in one place. Duck.ai is from DuckDuckGo, where AI is private and optional.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
My dad had never been in better shape. Then he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of us. Ethos.com, 10 minutes, 100% online.
Check your price today at ethos.com.
Democrats, party of Criminals now arguing in favor of allowing criminals to steal and take whatever they want, claiming America has a mass incarceration problem.
All of us want to be able to go into our CVS or Walgreens and not have our deodorant and our razors and whatever locked up. It's really annoying.
We even incarcerate the deodorant, guys.
Exactly. I'm always just like, this country loves mass incarceration.
We love mass.
Even inanimate objects.
Not the deodorant got locked up.
You're an idiot. They're locked up because people in your district steal it. Guess where it's not locked up? Outside blue cities. Weird. Reporter for the Daily Wire, Brecca Stoll, and Daily Caller senior politics reporter Ashley Brasfield. All right, Ashley, they locked them up for a reason.
Yeah, they lock up the deodorant, the toothpaste, the NyQuil, any medicine you want in a blue city, but they won't not lock up the people that are stealing them. Why? Because they're nonviolent crimes. You saw this in places like San Francisco, and most recently, I was just at a Walgreens or a CVS in DC the other week trying to buy toothpaste, and it's locked up. But it's not because we love locking it up. It's because we live in blue cities where the crime is not handled correctly, and people, do not do time at all because of the politicians there. And it seems to be a very compelling trend. I'm from Georgia, so is Brecca. And if you go to where we're from, that doesn't happen there.
Right.
Goes for across the country currently.
Yeah, that is weird correlation there, I know, but we're going to have to go with it. Here's an update from the Alphabet Community cruise ship we told you about yesterday, Brecca. After being denied entry to Turkey for, moral standards, the cruise was set to dock in another 90% Muslim country, which was Egypt. Well, now they have also said, no way, guys, you're not coming here. We don't have enough bleach. So, which makes sense because a watchdog group warned that, quote, in Egypt, authorities use vague, abusive penal code provisions to imprison LGBTQ people. Yet, these are the same libs that say, oh, America, my rights as a gay person are taken away. Not really.
Carl, I hope this makes it to all the protesters I talked to at these rallies where they say and they champion gays for Palestine. And we all kind of know, I don't really think that's the right call, guys, because when you are gay in America, LGBTQ+, we respect you. You're allowed to rally in our streets. You're allowed to have pride months everywhere. But when you go to these Middle Eastern companies that they seem, or countries that they seem that they want to go to all the time, they're quickly met with reality.
Yeah, no, that's... The best thing to do is for them to learn this lesson on their own and be like, hey, you know what? America ain't so bad. Next step is vote Republican. Ashley, I'm also getting pretty sick and tired of libs interfering and messing around with our taxpayer dollars. Now, look, this specific example is from Germany, but it's the same story all over the world. All right. She's a climate activist, okay? She's known for gluing her hands to things like this. In this case, she cemented her hand to the road in protest of climate change. And I'm like, hey, new rule, if you cement yourself to the ground, you get left there and you're on your own.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Having to use public money to get her out, I don't think is an option, and that shouldn't be. And I think probably Germans, a lot of them feel the same way. This seems to be a shtick in Germany. There's, I think, 14 protesters that did the same thing at a German airport. So it seems to be their shtick now. And, here we are again looking at a protest that seems to do absolutely nothing for the, movement for climate whatsoever. I mean, how many years has this gone on? And, we have people on the United States side like John Kerry who take their private jets to go to conferences to talk about this.
Yeah.
But the people tend to never, protest them, it seems.
Well, but they also carved a 5-lane highway through the rainforest strictly for a climate change conference. These people are so stupid. Brecca, Gavin Newsom, one of my favorite guys to dunk on because it's really easy. He's pointing the finger at Trump for corruption. Watch this.
Had no problem increasing the budget for his vanity for a private plane that he'll be taking with him when he leaves the administration, the most corrupt administration in history that has gone after his opponents consistently.
Pot kettle, because that plane was free, and also Joe Biden's DOJ went after basically every Republican they could, but also let's do Barack Obama, whose wealth exploded to a factor of, I think, 70 after he left office.
Yeah, I think whenever you look at these Democratic politicians, a lot of times they go into office and they don't have much wealth, and when they're leaving, they leave with a ton of wealth. When I look at the Republican administration, the Trump administration, I see names like Scott Bessent. and where he had a real career, where he had his investment firm, and then he enters public office, and because of all the rules with divesting and everything, loses money in office.
Right.
Versus, a politician like Ilhan Omar, where she gets into office, she makes a fake winery from what we can tell, and she leaves wealthier than she's ever been before. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and when you see what the Republican administration is doing with names, again, like Michael Grimes, another person, done every IPO in Silicon Valley, comes, helps in the Trump administration, and loses money, leaves. It's a trend we're seeing.
No, it really is. I mean, I've seen this time and time again where Democrats create nothing and then leave super wealthy, and then Hillary Clinton steals the silverware out of the White House when she leaves. Brecca, Ashley, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, you know what vets think about masculinity? Me and the guys sat down to talk about how we're going to raise our kids, protect our families, and how we won't apologize for it. The last Voices of Valor for the season, or for the week, I should say, next.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
When Conor McGregor fights, you're witnessing something once in a lifetime.
Surprise, surprise, the king is back!
All my life I want money and power.
Oh! Conor McGregor transcended the sport. Max Holloway. That's a real warrior. I'm right here. You're in for a treat.
McGregor versus Holloway, Saturday, July 11th. Free with your subscription, only on Paramount Plus.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Now, tirzepatide for weight management is available in a dissolvable tablet. It's not the injection and doesn't offer the same strength or clinical evidence as the injectable form, and results will differ from the injection. But for patients who don't want shots, this tablet option is worth exploring. Understanding results will differ from the injection. Tirzepatide tablets are a prescription that starts with a telehealth evaluation by a licensed physician who reviews your health history. And if it's right for you, they prescribe it. This might be worth a conversation.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
You know what vets know a little bit about? Masculinity. I always say that your hands need to be strong enough to kill someone and soft enough to rock a baby to sleep. And as we wrap up our Voices of Valor series for the week, we address what real men do and need, how we raise our kids, and how to protect our families. And you know what? We're not going to apologize for it. And if that drives Libs nuts, well, that's a bonus feature. Check it out. When I was restoring this thing, I had pieced together a bunch of stuff. And all the other thing too is nobody from any generation does this anymore.
No. Carl Higbie, former Navy SEAL, evening host, Newsmax.
So that, and that's a big problem with you know, like, forget this, just like the country. Like, nobody does the things, nobody builds anything.
Well, we were talking about, I mean, look at your son. He's growing up amongst us. Like, literally hopped on that tractor. He's working that. He's working the forks. I mean, what kid? I would say less than 1% of kids in America. I mean, my kids can't do that. They can't jump on a tractor.
And I would say very few.
They haven't been exposed to it.
Right.
Right.
Very few adult men know how to do that.
Yeah. Well, those aren't men.
No.
Yeah. But that's the problem is we have this like disaster of lack of masculinity. I mean, look at Teddy Daniels, for example. Like, there's just no masculinity.
The lack of
no
masculinity in Teddy.
I'm the anti-masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I think Teddy might be the source of most of America's testosterone. No, but I mean, like, this is the problem. We got this housing crisis, and they're like, oh, it costs so much to build a house. It's like, yeah, because people can't change a light socket anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we used to build everything, and I classify people by 3 different things. Family is who you discuss whether or not you need the barn. Friends show up to help you build the barn, and everybody else, don't lose my number.
Yeah. Well, I think I was talking to Teddy last night.
It's a geographical thing, I think. Go ahead, Mark. I'm
no,
sorry.
I know. I was just saying, I think we were talking apart last night. That when I grew up, we never had a repairman in our house. Never. My dad fixed everything.
Mark Morgan, veteran, United States Marine Corps, acting commissioner of CBP, special agent, FBI.
And when he went to fix something, I was right next to him. Mm-hmm. You know, it reminds me of you and your son. Yeah. You know,
and also we had refrigerators that lasted for 60 years with no maintenance.
That's probably everything now. It breaks and we just replace it, and I'm guilty. I mean, I'd do it. You know, I mean, that's what's exciting for you up here.
Jason Redmond, retired Navy SEAL, author, speaker, entrepreneur.
I mean, and what you're teaching your son's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I mean, there's something to be said for all the guys who go buy a piece of land and are like, this, I'm gonna be self-sustaining.
No, I mean, it's
a sense of community.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because some areas
there is none anymore.
Have it, some don't.
Teddy Daniels, former U.S. Army infantry security consultant.
Now, like, Carl, your place out here, I have my place in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm doing an addition. I got guys coming up, running bulldozers for me, helping me.
For a case of beer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, man, we're here for you. They need help.
Yeah.
They pick up the phone. I'm there. You'll have 4 or 5 guys there helping somebody do something on their property.
And that's right. There's
they don't expect anything, nothing at all.
And
it's just that's what we do.
And the communities living now, it's the norm now. Like, you don't even know your neighbors' names.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, in most suburbs.
No, it's true.
Yeah. You know?
During COVID,
during
COVID, we had only moved in the neighborhood like a year prior to that. And during COVID, I went around, we live in a court, and I went around and knocked on every door.
For you.
Just to say, hey man, you know, if I can help or do anything. Half the people wouldn't come to the door. Which was kind of crazy to me. Yeah. Well, some of it I think they were afraid because of COVID, but I'm just like,
Well,
hey man, I just,
ugly.
you know, that's it.
Yeah. If I did that, they'd think I was there to repo their car or something, you know?
I don't want to say
Turn
that
their
when the
gas
door,
off.
those that did open the door, the women wanted me and the men wanted to be me. It got a little awkward. I then had to say I'm not actually in that house. I didn't want to not so. Anyways, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is crazy that we don't have that sense of community anymore. It exists more in the country.
It does,
You see
big
it.
time. Because you needed that, and that has never gone away.
But there's nothing in the cities. I'll tell you what, man.
Apocalypse hits.
Yeah. That's why
there's no teams.
That's right. And I've told people, like the survival course I ran, I said, if you get the hell out of a city, you have probably 48 hours before it's, and 96 at most, before it will collapse, and you want to get to high ground and away from the cities.
Like the area I'm at, if I talk about, hey, you know, I always have a short-term survival kit in my vehicles. I have a bail-up bag, I have a bug-out bag. First of all, you know, 90% of the people I talk to have no idea what I'm talking about. And the other one think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know, for talking to them about this. You know, and we've come so far. I think I was talking to you guys the other day. There's still pockets, right? Like you live in one.
Yeah.
You're telling that story about the tree fall and everybody came together.
Yeah.
You know, I was repeating myself for you guys, but you know, I went and I was picking up some some 27A because I'm leaving some paver bases down in a home, and I forgot he only took cash, and I did it in my wallet. He's like, yeah, whatever, just come back whenever you got it.
Yeah, and you were good as your word.
Good as the word. That's right.
Nobody,
right.
People nobody means what they say anymore. You know, I've had people. My biggest thing is being on time. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm there 15 minutes early.
Is on time. That's right.
And I have people now in my life that I've had to literally cut out of my life because they're like, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then they just don't show up, and they're like, oh, why are you so mad at me?
Yeah.
It's like, who raised you?
But this is the other thing too. Like, we have gotten as a society weaker, gayer, stupider, and this trans weird thing is coming up. And I look back at this, and you think about, like, George Washington crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
And now, like, he would look at one of these kids and be like, are you serious right now? Like, get in the damn boat.
Yeah. Common sense is gone.
That's what we fought for. This is what we bled for. This is what we founded this nation to be. I don't think so.
It goes back to what you said about boys and men. Men do what they. I see it. We see it, all of us, every single day. It's all about me. Yeah. It's all about what I want, what I need, what makes me happy. It's not. I mean, that's why I'm concerned. Recruiting. But besides part of the issue, the military is the DEI stuff. But I still say, a lot of young men are not willing to step up and make the sacrifice, right? To be a part of something greater than themselves.
You're right.
Well,
right? Because it's always about themselves.
Yeah, what's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
How many likes did I get?
Exactly.
My daughter is 13, and she's not on social media, but her friends are. And like, can you believe so-and-so didn't like my post? It's like, who cares? Like, and I go to her, like, cheerleading competitions, because she just has that girly streak in her. And I'm watching every other parent is sitting there watching the screen on their phone while they're, I'm like, and I'm the only one standing there without a phone out. And I'm like, I'm enjoying a real-time thing. They're watching it on their phone in real time. Like, what are we doing?
And like me, I'm not a tech person. I can't figure out today's tech.
That's weird. I didn't see that.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. But when it comes to building stuff and using your hands to build stuff, I can do that.
Yeah.
Like my dad was a stonemason. That's how I was brought up. Every summer, he had me doing different jobs and different trades.
This explains his size, actually.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at the future of the country, and we were just talking about this, I think there's going to be a blend that has to happen. You need men who can still do man things. We have talked about there are three things, and they need to understand tech because it's part of the world now.
Tech guys that aren't nerds.
We all have a role.
But leader, protector, provider. That's what men need to be, and every man should own a gun and know how to fire one.
And I'm sorry, and never apologize. The whole masculinity BS. Never apologizing for our DNA wanting to be a protector of our family.
That's right.
I'm never going to apologize for that. I mean, if somebody comes, if a threat comes on my front door, it's not going to be, the person laying next to me. It's going to be me.
All right. Before we go, the Trump State Department just had to shut down a secret sit-down and wait until you find out who it was with next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
At Omaha Steaks, we take premium aged steak and turn it into pure ground burgers like this. Our Burger Perfection flight comes with 20 big, juicy burgers, all for just $79.99 at omahasteaks.com/TV. Burger Perfection guaranteed.
Show up this summer with a little help from Cabinets to Go. Now through July 21st, the more you buy, the more you'll save on custom stock cabinets. Shop our most popular collections of quick ship in-stock cabinets at up to 40% off. Or find Cotswold Linen and Chalet White at 45% off. Plus save up to 50% on custom-built cabinets for a tailored perfect fit. Don't miss our Buy More, Save More sale. Shop and save online or in showrooms nationwide. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
Ever wished you could brew your own beer, but figured it was too complicated, too messy, too much effort? Well, now you can. Meet Pinter, the home beer system everyone's talking about. Fresh beer, brewed and tapped by you. No fuss, no guesswork, just brew, chill, tap, done. You can craft 12 pints with every brew. Crisp lager, juicy and hoppy IPAs, smooth stouts, plus brew beers from top craft breweries you know and love. From the first tap to the last toast, hosting just got an upgrade. Nothing beats sharing your own fresh beer with friends. You don't need a garage brewery. You don't need a chemistry set. You just need a pinter. Right now, get your pinter free when you join our flexible beer plan. Choose your beers, brew fresh at home, and tap into the world's best beer experience. Free pinter. Freshly brewed beer. Zero fuss. Go to pinter.com/spring to claim your offer today.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
If you know luxury, it's not just award-winning, it's rewarding. Saatva Mattresses supports all types of sleepers. Luxury is handcrafted and assembled in American factories and brought directly to you with our complimentary in-home delivery and setup service. Which is why over 90% of customers would recommend Saatva to friends and family. Saatva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
The ego of these libs is off the charts. This is a top official in New York City Mayor Ma'am Danny's office, the International Affairs, Anna Marie, whatever her name is. I don't even know why the New York City mayor has an international affairs office, but they do for some reason. Plans to meet up with the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. But of course, the Trump administration, the State Department, they squashed this. I'm not even sure these people, understand that they're not in charge of this country. They lost. Also, is this a violation of the Logan Act, which, quote, bars a citizen of the United States without authority of the United States from directly or indirectly commencing or carrying on any correspondence with, intercourse with, may have any relation to a foreign government? Now, do you see the problem here? Like, the last time we actually charged anybody with this was in, like, the 1800s. I think Joe Biden wanted to charge Mike Flynn with this. But, Rob, why the hell would New York, first off, have an Office of International Affairs? And what authority do they think they have to negotiate with Iran?
And again, it's Iran. And again, it's the left. It's just like John Kerry in the first Trump term, going to Iran behind our backs. What is the fascination with this horrific Islamic regime? Why do they want to help them so much? What were they going to offer the Iranians from the Mamdani administration as they fight a war against the United States?
Yeah, the Muslim Ugandan socialist.
So twisted. And yeah, where is the Logan Act?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you, Carl.
All right,
Have a
Rob.
good weekend. All right.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.